have you all here. Thank you for attending the webinar. My name is Fahim Abrar Hussain. You can call me Fahim. I'm a final year medical student from Bangladesh. I'm currently working with IFMSA as the regional assistant of SCORA. Um, SCORA stands for Standing Committee on Reproductive Health, including AIDS. SCORA is one of the founding standing committee of IFMSA. IFMSA stands for the International Federation of Medical Students Association. It was founded in 1951 and is one of the world's oldest and largest student-run organizations. It represents, connects, and engages every day with an inspiring and engaging network of 1.3 million medical students from 124 national member organizations in 116 countries around the globe. SCORA basically works in five sections, namely comprehensive sexual education, sexuality and gender diversity, HIV and other STIs, maternal health and access to safe abortion, gender-based violence. As you know, IFMS observes IDAHOT, which stands for International Day on Homophobia and Transphobia, every year on 17th May, with a number of events to create awareness of the LGBT rights among the medical students. This time we came with a bit different plan. We wanted medical students to commit to defending LGBTQ plus health rights beyond simply just raising awareness. Active discussions of the current regional and global situations add credibility and impact to our advocacy efforts. Throughout the first 2 weeks of IDAHOT, which is the 2nd to 16th of May, we plan to hold a total of 12 webinars, 5 of them being regional, other will be global, to deepen the understanding on this worldwide social movement and create an online comprehensive space where people can gather information on how sexual orientation and gender identity related issues are tackled around the world in order to take them back home. Sadly, Asian countries, especially in southeastern part of Asia, the picture is quite different. Sufferings of LGBT community are way higher than most other Western communities. Social stigma and discrimination have crippled much of the humanity of the society. As many of you have heard the horrifying news that the founder of Bangladesh's only LGBT magazine, Zulhaz Mannan, has been killed in an attack in the capital city, Dhaka. On behalf of IFMS SCORA, I want to express my deepest condolences for the shameful incident, and I want to mention that he will not be forgotten. At the same time, we strongly demand justice. Without any further delay, I want to welcome you again for the webinar. IFMS SCORA presents you the webinar, Struggle and Discrimination Faced by LGBTQI Community, to emphasize on sexuality and gender diversity. We have with us our speaker, Ms. Kalki Subramaniam, to enlighten us on these vital topics. Ma'am, thank you from the bottom of our heart. It had been our pleasure to have you with us. I would like to introduce our speaker, Ms. Kalki, in brief. Kalki Subramaniam is an activist, author, artist, actor, inspirational speaker, and an entrepreneur. She is the founder of Sahodari Foundation, which works for social, economic, and political empowerment of transgender persons in India. Kalki holds 2 master's degrees, Master's in Journalism and Mass Communication, and Master's in International Relations. In her lifetime, she was awarded with numerous awards for her brilliance and boldness, for her courage and spirit of determination to defy all the odds and dedicate herself for humanity, of which the most prominent ones are some national recognitions that include
Fahim, are you there? Okay, I think there is a technical problem. So, um, Ms. Kalki, can we proceed with your presentation?
Yes, of course.
Thank you so
Um,
much.
can I go ahead?
Yes, definitely.
Hello.
Thank you. Yes.
All right. Hello and good evening from India. I'm Kalki Subramaniam, transgender LGBT women's rights activist from the state of Tamil Nadu. I am glad that I have an opportunity to talk to people like you. And I believe that you are the people who make a difference in our society. You are powerful and you definitely change negative into positive, the negative perceptions into positive perceptions. So we are all here to build that goodness and peace to our society. Personally speaking, I, as an LGBT person, especially as a trans person, I have faced number of been a victim of abuse and violence right from my young age. And today, when we hear that the gay activist from Bangladesh, Zulnaz, killed brutally, I just can't believe it. The situation in Asia has not changed. I first of all, I express my condolences for
Uh,
the brave soul who had left us, and I also express my I sincerely express my condemn against those people who has hacked him to death. It is unapologetic, and they need to be punished. It
Thank you,
is
ma'am.
totally against the human
Ma'am,
rights, and those people need to be punished. Yes. Yes, Fahim.
thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, can I just add a bit more? As I was saying about, as I was talking about some insignificant, some recognitions that you had. I just wanted to continue with that. Um, Ma'am,
Okay.
you had an international recognition from Facebook Incorporation as one of the 12 most inspiring women on social media working in community development on 2015. And I also want to mention that some national recognitions were Goldie's Gold Award for acting performances in transgender themed feature film Narathaki in 2011, Achievers Award from Coimbatore Lawyers Association in 2015, and Achievers Award from Coimbatore Transgender Welfare Association in 2015. Um, Before we begin, I would like to inform all of you that if you have any questions, you can always write it down. And after this session, after session taken by Ma'am Kalki, uh, Vivian's gonna inform all the questions to Ma'am, and she's gonna answer them. And besides that, please do keep your eyes on our pages of SCORA Asia Pacific and also in IFMS SCORA to know about further events and further information on this topic. Without any further delay, I would like to request Madam Kalki to take the floor and conduct the webinar. Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Kalki Subramaniam.
Thank you, Fahim. To continue with my conversation, yeah, when we talk about the LGBT people, and when we actually particularly talk about the LGBT youth today, I think negative attitudes towards the LGBTQI youth, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, and intersex people, and the negative attitudes of the society, of their families, and sometimes their friends has not changed. Has not changed much. The negative attitude towards them, especially the youth, has increased with violence compared with other hetero students. Actually, violence can include behaviors such as bullying, teasing, harassment, assault, and suicide-related behavior. And when we talk about the suicide rate behavior, I'd also like to note that LGBTQI youth today are at an increased risk for suicidal behaviors, suicidal thoughts, suicidal attempts, and suicide. We do not have uh, any statistics on suicide, LGBTQI suicide, people from the LGBT community suicide in India. And I'm sure there are no proper statistics in Pakistan or in Bangladesh or in Sri Lanka or in South Asian countries. I'm sure that we don't have statistics. Many of the suicides are not reported since it's difficult for people, LGBT people to come out, and most of them live in closets, and it is difficult for them to come out and express their sexuality or gender identity and live a free life. Most of the cases are not reported. Not only suicides, but murders. There are so many murders happening. Uh, to murders, LGBT people who are murdered. Those cases are never reported. Um, we do have reports, but not about our countries. We do have reports on LGBT people's death, suicide, murder, and all these statistics we have uh, about the US people, LGBTQ youth from the US or other Western countries. But countries like India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, or Sri Lanka, there are no reports. Um, the most important cause, when we talk about the suicide, I think the most important cause of suicidal tendencies, is the relationship problems within the relationship problems for the LGBT people, because they are afraid of rejection, and of course they get rejected if they come out to their families as gays or lesbians or transgenders. They are so sure that the families will not accept. So relationship issues are the single biggest cause of depression, of distress to the young people of today, especially those young people who are from the age of 16 to 26, 27. All of them are maybe suffering because of this distress and this depression. And the social and family pressures on them, because most of them are queer, homosexual youngsters, because of the fear of the family rejection alone is a big cause for them to consider suicide. I think psychiatrists also uh, say the same thing. So the family acceptance has always been the most important thing for the LGBT people, uh, because families are big support, moral support, uh, economic support also comes from the family. Once the family does not support them, they are forced to go out of their families, and you don't know what happens to their life. When we talk about the trans community in India, almost more than 80% of them, that is 80 people in 100 people today in the transgender community, not only in India, I believe it is also in other parts of Asian countries. More than 80% of them have been abandoned by their families or choose to leave their families because of the family circumstances, the distress that they face in the family, the discrimination and unacceptance that they face in the families, that force them to leave their families, and they choose to go on their own. But what does the society offer them? What are the what are the options to live a dignified life for these people in our society? in our Asian society. We don't have any options for them. The governments are against them. The society does not accept them, does not understand them fully. Sex and sexuality is seen as a sin. That comes with not only religion, but also with ideas and ideologies passed on from generation to generations. And sexuality and gender identities or gender non-conforming young people are seen as out of the normal, or seen as abnormal or unwanted or as perverts. And thus, this has been passed down from generation to generation. The wrong ideas, the misconceptions on gender and sexuality has been passed for many generations in Asia. And of course, unfortunately, with the arrival of the Britishers and their colonial, being Asia being their colony, has also been one of the causes for their wrong perceptions to enter our countries and change our people's attitude towards sex and sexuality. So how do we change that is a big question. Well, we cannot change it overnight. We cannot change it in one day. We cannot change it in 1 year. What we can actually do is that we can sow the seeds. We can plant our ideas. We can plant our opinions. We can fight for our rights. We can fight for the LGBT young people's rights. And then, sorry, we can fight for the young people's rights. We can establish our human rights through education particularly. And I believe that education on sexuality and gender is essential right from high school. Yeah, this has been missing for many decades in Asia. As long as you hide that information from our youth, as long as you hide that right information which should be reaching them, why we are denying that in the name of shame? Why is sex seen as a shame? Why is gender non-conformity seen as a shame? Because I think we are living in a patriarchal society, and that is the reason women are oppressed, transgender people are oppressed, LGBT people are oppressed. And the possibility of equality and living uh, in a society that considers LGBT people as mainstream and accepts them unconditionally. That is possible only when we actually bring that education to the youngsters. I am not sure if I can be hopeful to change the mindsets of people today. Uh, those those people over their 30s and those senior citizens. Will it be possible for us to make them understand our issues, the LGBT issues, and um, make them as partners or associates for our fights, and make them understand and accept us and cherish our human rights and value us, is a big question. And I'm not sure about that. If we can make a change in the mindsets of our senior citizens, if we can make a change in the people's minds today, but we can make a difference at least after 5 years, after 10 years, if we start working from today. And that can only, as I have said in the previous seminar, and I always say that in universities and colleges, this has to be brought through education. Education at schools, education at colleges, universities, educating people through media, educating people through different media channels, online, offline, print, television, everything. We need to educate them. Only then we can change. On the one side, we bring a social change like this through educating people. On the other side, we need to create, we need to lobby with the lawmakers. We need to lobby with the government uh, continuously, keep continuously fighting. And we need to bring change on that as well. I think in India, um, a few years ago, Section 377 of the Indian Penal Code, which actually criminalizes same-sex relationships, was decriminalized. And it was a celebration, of course. An outdated British law was decriminalized in India. And it was a big celebration for the LGBT community. But unfortunately, the Supreme Court once again criminalized it. And same-sex relationships once again became a crime. And today we are still fighting with the Supreme Court to revoke that decision, to decriminalize same-sex relationships, uh, and to rewrite the Section 377 of the Indian Penal Code. But at the same time, when we talk about the transgender rights, the year 2014 has been a really a big year for the community. We were legally accepted. We have legally recognized by the Supreme Court of India. And the Supreme Court also recommended the government and directed the government to bring welfare measures and so many other options like a reservation for trans people, forming a separate department and commissions for the welfare of transgender and intersex people, and creating separate policies, welfare policies for the community in education and employment as well. So on the one side, gay and lesbian people uh, are their life is under distress and depression because of the law, because of family rejection, because of the fear of being found out in the society, because of the shame that is imbibed on them uh, by the values, by people, by the wrong projections, by religion as well. But on the same time, transgender people have started to enjoy our rights. Um, Even in the election manifestos these days, the political parties, the national political parties, as well as uh, the state political parties have started including transgender people, people's welfare in their manifesto, and it is not far from including the LGBTQI, the whole LGBT population's welfare as well. I think we need to bring in laws where um, there are punishments for families that reject LGBT youth, because I think in a very well developed and educated country like the US, LGBT population is at an increased rate and becomes victims of bullying, violence, and hatred, and even murder, 3 times higher than the hetero population. And in a country like India or Sri Lanka or Nepal, it could be three to not only 3 times, it could be 5 times higher. And in countries like Bangladesh and Pakistan, it could be 7 times higher. Can you imagine it? How those people, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender people living in those countries suffer. Their existence itself is in question. How do we change that? We need to continuously fight. We need to raise our voices and keep it strong. And I think it is necessary for human. We need to partner with human rights activists, human rights organization, and creating a strong network of that partnership is essential. And the medical fraternity, the medical the people from the medicine, people from law, the lawmakers, the medical fraternity, the judiciary, the media. I think we all have a very important role in creating that that social justice for the LGBT community. Um, I'm still hopeful that there is a possibility for good change, good transformation for the LGBT youth in Asia. I can't imagine 20 years ago, I can't imagine coming out as a youth. And I can't imagine my seniors coming out as transgenders or lesbians 10 years ago. They will be they'll be highly vulnerable to violence and whatnot, everything, of course. But today the situation has changed in India, and there are slight possibilities of that change in Pakistan as well. And I see a greater change happening in Nepal. Nepal being a shining example of LGBT equality right now in Asia. I see that change in Nepal. And what happens in Nepal can happen pretty soon in India. And it can happen definitely in other parts of our country too. So I think uh, we need to partner with not only with the human rights activists, but also with, if possible, we need to lobby with religious leaders and make them understand our issues, because religion is a very sensitive subject, and the religious leaders are powerful. And I think it is important for us to sensitize them on our issues, and we need to find out ways on how to make them understand our issues and possibly support us in ways possible. It is a tough task, but it is not an impossible thing, I believe. Um, and recently, I think just last week, I also read about in very near to my city, Coimbatore, a transgender youth was murdered, and the the deaths of LGBT people are not given much prominence, and it is not reported in the proper way as well. The media does not report in a very sensible way, in a way that does not shame those people, those dead souls. I think it's important for us to sensitize the media as well. The way they project the LGBT community has to be the right way. It may not be also always the positive way, but what we are asking is the truthful way, the right way. The projection of the media about us has to be in the right way. And the LGBT community around the world is a victim of violence. And what about those people who are ruling in our in especially when we talk about the Asian countries? Don't we want we have lesbians and gays and transgenders in the political parties sitting in the positions? Definitely yes. In every country, I think there will be in all positions, higher positions, either as judges or lawmakers or ministers or even prime ministers. There could be a gay, there could be a bisexual person sitting there, but may not out themselves. So you see, in all our countries, there are people who are sitting in the authoritative positions, in the policy decision making positions, but they also suffer from fear of being out. So I think creating that relationship, the activist community and the young people today have to, especially the young activists and people from other venues, other areas, especially from medicine, law, as I said, medicine, law, and media, those people who understand our issues and support our issues, we need to create a strong network. And that network can create changes. And continuously lobbying with the government is important, and partnering with media organizations are also important. And what happens is in Bangladesh today is unimaginably sad. And Bangladesh going backwards? Yes. Uh, and I just can't imagine the life of lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender people in that country. And I really wanted to give my hope and positive energy to all those people living there. I think the situation will change eventually, and let's hope that it will change eventually. Yes. And when we talk about the LGBT discrimination and violence, as I said before, the number one reason is family rejection. And the second reasons could be the discrimination they face in schools and academic institutions like colleges and universities, where they become victims of bullying, of homophobic violence, and eventually the feelings of depression and suicidal behaviors uh, get them, and they tend to go and they tend to also become drug users, of course. All students, regardless of either sexual orientation or gender identity, usually face bullying of some type in schools. But it is the LGBT youth that face, as I said, depending on the country and the region, and also the religious beliefs, they could face 3 times or 5 times or even 7 times more of depression, suicidal feelings. Also, they will be the victims of alcohol and marijuana use. And people who study in institutions, they will be absent from schools and colleges because of homophobia. Yes. So this definitely affects not only their education, um, it affects their health, physical, mental health. So today, if you look at the young people, transgender young people who are begging and doing sex work in India or in Pakistan or in neighboring countries, I think it is because of that family rejection. Today, many transgender people don't feel themselves as a part of the society, and they feel they are not answerable to the society. They are under risks of HIV, they have severe depression, they use substance, and their sexual behaviors place them at risk of HIV and other sexually transmitted diseases. The HIV infection among young men who have sex with uh, other young men or men, is increasing and is much more higher than the hetero statistics. And of course, the transgender population is also uh, is increasingly high, is increasingly at a risky situation now because of HIV and sexually transmitted diseases. Yes. For today's young people to thrive uh, in their schools and universities, in their communities, they need to actually feel socially, emotionally, and physically safe and supported. A positive college climate, a positive school climate is associated with decreased depression, decreased suicidal feelings, decreased substance and drug abuse, and decreased school absences among LGBTQI community, the LGBT, the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, and intersex students. I think schools, including colleges, and especially when we talk about the medical colleges and medical universities, should implement clear policies, procedures, designed to promote a healthy environment for all youth, and particularly to the LGBT youth. Um, we need the universities, the medical colleges has to create policies uh, for the safety and security and the continued education of the LGBT community. There need to be policies which clearly states anti-discrimination, anti-bullying. Um, LGBT students should not experience threats of violence, should not experience unsafe, should not be victims of attempted suicide and all that. So only if these policies and procedures are implemented in schools and colleges, they will be continuously able to they'll be able to continue their education and complete their education, and uh, their education will be an important tool for them to face the society. That will give confidence, that will be the biggest economic support in their future. I think to promote health and safety among LGBT young people, schools should implement policies and practices that should encourage respect for all students and prohibit bullying, harassment, violence against all students. And they should identify safe spaces. The academic institutions should have counselors' offices, the students' organizations where LGBT youth can receive support from administrators, teachers, and other academic staff. And um, I think they should also ensure that educational materials, including which include HIV, STDs, should be relevant to LGBT youth, should be included in their education curriculum. And uh, they should facilitate health services if possible, especially for the LGBT youth. Should facilitate health services, health checkups, including HIV, STD testing and counseling to LGBT youth. These are some of my suggestions for educational institutes, academicians, educators, and school administrators. Yes. And of course, the most important thing, as I have already said, is for the causes of discrimination is family, and for the causes of depression and distress, and is the relationship issues for the LGBT community. Relationship issues is, of course, the number one relationship issue is the family and acceptance. Um, Parents should respond to their LGBT sons and daughters, and to be supportive, parents should talk openly with their daughters and sons about their problems and concerns, and be watchful of behaviors that might indicate their child as a victim of bullying or violence, or that their child may be victimizing others. If bullying, violence, or depression is suspected, parents should take immediate action, working with the academic personnel, school or college personnel, and other adults in the community. So I think parents and school staff, teachers, the university administrators, faculties, educationists, everybody have an important role in shaping up the life of the LGBT youth. So LGBT people need support from that front. So this is my take on discrimination and violence faced by the LGBT youth today. I'm not talking only about the Indian case, but I'm talking about the whole of Asia, and probably I'm quoting examples from around the world. So this is the situation of the transgender, lesbian, gay, bisexual, intersex people in India. and change can be brought not immediately, but we sow the seeds, we plant the change, we plant the seeds of change today. And I think in India, we have already started working on mainstreaming the transgender community. And I believe that we are not far away from mainstreaming the LGBT community as well. Thank you for listening to my talk, and I hope I'm ready with your questions if there are any. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Ms. Kalki. And we have, thank you so much for this wonderful presentation. And now I have received some questions for you, so I'm just gonna present them and then you can answer to them.
Yeah.
Okay, so the first question is that you mentioned youth and their vulnerability to violence in both society and in homes. Are there any places or organizations for LGBTQ plus youth to go to if they are rejected by their family?
Um, yes, I think there are many organizations. In India, of course, we have quite a few organizations which you can find their addresses and telephone and email addresses online. Of course, we have our Sahodri Foundation in Tamil Nadu, and there are organizations like Snehidi and Sahodaran in Chennai. And in the south, we have a few more organizations, and they have their telephone numbers and email addresses can be found online. And in other parts of India also we have in every state, almost in every state, we have an organization, and there are nationwide organizations as well. I'm not aware of the neighboring countries. I'm not aware how supportive Pakistan and Bangladesh is, but I'm sure that Nepal is very supportive to the. Nepal has many organizations and has been very supportive to the LGBT youth. That is, Nepal's organizations, LGBT organization, so are very supportive to the LGBT youth. So I think through online, today's LGBT youth can find out information. Yes, sorry about that. But this is only for those people who are able to, who have the computer knowledge and find out this information. But you know, since majority of the lesbian, bisexual, transgender youth also live in the rural areas where there is no computer access, where they are not able to speak in English. For them, it is definitely difficult. Um, that is why it is important. I've always stressed that organization should not only work in the cities, they should go to the villages. They should be working in small towns for accessibility of the LGBT youth from small towns and villages to get access to services, to a crisis intervention for counseling and support. So yeah, that's what I wanted to say.
Okay, thank you very much. Regarding this question, I also have a little something to share from the country
Please
I'm
do.
from, Taiwan. We have
Okay.
a LGBTQ plus hotline association. They have a phone number that LGBTQ youth or parents can call to ask for questions, and parents can learn more about LGBTQ plus, and youth with questions and who needs help can reach out for help. And we will have two activists from that organization in another webinar in the Idaho campaign. But thank you very much for sharing. And I still have some more questions. The second one is regarding the projections within the media. Historically, many movements utilize media, notably literature and newspapers, to bring about social change, especially in times of illegality. Are there such LGBTQ plus friendly medias in Asia Pacific forming?
Yeah. I think I know for a fact that in Nepal there are many literature magazines for the LGBTQ community, and of course in India we have magazines like Bombay Dost and uh, I also 10 years ago I brought the first magazine for the trans community. It was called Sahodari, which is not active now, but I continuously keep writing on through blogs, not only in English but also through vernacular languages. That is my mother tongue, Tamil. So writing in vernacular languages is very important as well. So literature, newspaper, books make a big difference. I think um, books, literature can make a big difference. Because as you know, Karl Marx was his own book changed the whole world. So for the community, uh, literature, what we write, what we have, what we wanted to say to the world can also be published as books and should be printed. I think when we talk about the LGBT literature in India, we don't have much, but there are authors, authors from India, from the trans community, from the gay community who have published works, including me. I have published my poetry uh, about my trans journey, about my journey as a transgender woman in Tamil. So I'm also a published author, and there are many authors who have written biographies, so that definitely makes a change. When we talk about media, um, television makes a big difference in people's lives. Television directly reaches people's home, and television can definitely make a big difference. So media has a big role to play. Yes.
Thank you. I think it's very inspiring to hear about your work and the works of many activists in the region in promoting the new ideas and through, especially through what you mentioned, using local languages to make it more reachable to the population. So
Yes.
the next question that I have received is, are perpetrators of hate crimes against LGBTQ plus people pursued and punished to the same standards that those committing similar offenses against non-LGBTQ plus people? Are the punishment and are the standards of punishments the same if the victims are LGBTQ plus or non-LGBTQ plus?
Um, I think the way the LGBT people, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender people are treated in the police station is totally against human rights. I know I've seen it. Many of my friends, how they have been treated in police, police offices, police stations is horrible. So I'm for sure, I know how women, biological women are treated in the police stations and how transgender women are treated in the police station is entirely different. I know many of my friends who are doing sex work when they are taken to the police for custody for interrogation. I know that many of them have been stripped naked, and even lathis, the sticks of the police, have been pushed into their vagina, into their into their vagina, into their anus. So the way that people, LGBT people, are treated and how they are handled by the police, by the authorities is completely different. And I'm sure how a transgender criminal is treated by the law, a transgender criminal is treated by the police and in the jail will also be very different from how a heterosexual person is treated. Yes, I have seen it, I know it, and I can definitely say that LGBT people are treated differently. In a theft or in any crime, the LGBT people are treated inhumanly, without respect, without dignity. Yes.
Thank you. I just want to ask further. You mentioned that criminals who are LGBTQ plus and who are not are treated differently, but are people committing violence against LGBTQ plus people treated differently than people who are committing violence against non-LGBTQ plus people?
I think in most cases, uh, when a crime is committed against the LGBT youth, uh, it is always the a lesbian or a gay or a transgender person who becomes the victim. The whole scene changes. The person who committed that crime escapes from the hands of law, from the hands of police, and it is always the gay, lesbian, or transgender person who becomes the victim. Uh, in so many cases, when my friends have shared their stories with me, especially my transgender friends, they have told me that when a customer has lost, when their customer who comes to have sex with them has lost a cell phone or a few hundred rupees, and when that customer goes to the police, it is always the transgender sex workers who are victimized, who are interrogated, severely punished, and it is not the other guy who has come to have sex with them. And also, it is the same case when police arrest them during sex work. When police arrest them, they most probably get a few thousand rupees from that man, from the customer, as bribe and leave him out. But it is the transgender people who are stripped naked, who are put into jail for one night, or possibly are taken to court. So justice works differently for people who are really criminals, and for people from the LGBT community who are victimized and may not be criminals.
Thank you. I think it's a very sad reality that these things are continuing to happen in our region.
Yes.
Thank you for the sharing. There is a few more questions. The next one is in the region such as yours, where many barriers to access care is there for where there are many barriers to accessing of medical care. Is there an influence of medical tourism? For example, are LGBTQI patients traveling to other countries for certain care services such as surgical transitions or affirmations?
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think when we talk about medical services, the most um, the community that uses medical services more is the transgender community, especially for medical surgery, transition, hormone therapy, breast augmentation, silicone implanting of breasts, and sex reassignment surgery, genital and cosmetic surgery. So many things are needed for the male to female transgender people and female to male transgender people. And in India at the moment, there are very, very few qualified doctors, and people who can actually afford those surgeries are only those people who have money or rich, or who can afford uh, to pay a few lakhs of rupees and go for surgery, um, go for silicone implants or go for cosmetic surgery. Um, that medical tourism is recently opening up in India. Um, my friends have always gone to, a few of my friends who have money have always gone to Thailand to do that surgery, sex reassignment surgery. And but recently the governments are trying to, especially the Tamil Nadu government, my state, is trying to offer free sex reassignment surgery for transgender people. but I'm not happy with the results because these are done without with doctors who are not qualified enough. I know my friends who have become specimens as victims of these doctors who have done improper surgery on their breasts, on their vagina. It's a big scam, which is not out yet. Those surgeries were done improperly, were not done by doctors who have practiced it, who have experiences. So who become victims of these doctors? These the poor people, people who cannot afford to go to Thailand, who cannot, who don't have lakhs of rupees to pay for these doctors, they become the victims of these doctors who offer free surgery. I think that is the situation right now in India. Quite a few hospitals, a few government hospitals, and a few private hospitals are claiming that they will offer free sex change surgery in India. But are they offering quality medical services is a big question, and I would say they are not doing it properly. And medical tourism is affordable right now only for the rich LGBT community people, not for all.
Thank you so much for pointing out such an important problem where access to care, even medical tourism, is only accessible to those with a higher social economic status. And I think this is a very important issue. For those of you who would like to know more about this topic, we have another webinar hosted by our regional assistant for the Americas, Carlos, which talks about intersectionality in the LGBTQ plus movement. Okay, moving on to the next question. We have two left. The first one is, you mentioned how important anti-discrimination policies in schools are.
Yeah.
I was wondering, the person asking this question was wondering if there are any examples of such successful policies in our region right now.
In Tamil Nadu, we do not have such policies, and I'm sure in India, we don't have such policies in schools implemented. But I have been working on that. Just last week, I was at a college in Pondicherry, an Immaculate College for Education. It is a college where they teach bachelor's degree in education. So I met a number of students who are going to be teachers at school level in next year. So I met the school authorities and insisted that the college should implement a policy on on accommodating LGBT people and particularly transgender people, and should have a policy on safe schooling for LGBT youth. And they have actually agreed to that. And I have, in the past few years, I have also traveled to many colleges and educational institute, and I am continuously lobbying to include policies for safe schooling, safe college for LGBT youth. And I believe that in the next few years, it will be implemented. I'm very positive about that.
Thank you. Again, it is so inspiring for us to hear about your work in this area. I think it's very important for students to see the wonderful work that you're doing right now. Okay,
Thank you.
there is one last question. Because as we can all see in this region, there are many barriers that are specific to Asia Pacific that are unique and are different from other regions. So, um, is there any international collaboration going on right now in Asia for activists from countries with similar situations to share their experience and to help each other out?
I think I think we don't really have organizations powerful enough to reach out to smaller organizations right now. I think there is this international ILGA, International Lesbian and Gay Association, ILGA, and a few more organizations. But the United Nations Development Program is also trying to help the LGBT people in India. But you know, the way they function is limited only to cities, and there is no organization currently internationally, as at least Asia-wide, that actually connects and networks between organization, and there is no strong network. I will definitely say it's only those people in the cities who are networking among themselves. For example, in India, some organizations in Delhi, in Chennai, in Mumbai are partnering themselves and doing some work, which only reaches to certain towns and metro cities. But what happens to other organizations? Like, for example, our organization Sahodri is right now situated in a small town. But how do these international organizations reach us? Is a question. We have to reach them. And are they accessible? No, they are not accessible at all. Do they know what kind of work we do? They don't know because they focus completely on these organizations that are sitting in the metro cities. Whereas the majority of the LGBT youth are living in the rural areas, in the countryside, in small towns and villages in the countries, whether it's Taiwan or Indonesia or Bangladesh or Pakistan. LGBT people are everywhere. They don't live only in the cities, but there's no proper networking. After all these years of LGBT activism, I think people who have the money, the organizations that have the money, have not built a strong network. They have failed in that.
Thank you, ma'am, for such a beautiful and informative session on struggle and discrimination faced by LGBTQI community and answering all the questions such beautifully. Ma'am, if I talk about the LGBT status in Bangladesh, in my country, honestly, I don't even have a proper statistics. And I believe the picture, if we look into it, will be no better than what's happening in India right now. Ma'am, I strongly agree with every point you explained. Today's generation needs education. Education, and only education can change their point of view. Fear, family rejection, shame felt by the LGBTQ people are the product of human ignorance. It is just not awareness that can stop such inhumanity. We need to act. We need to act now. We need to act right now. Ma'am, I believe those who have attended the webinar today and those who will be watching it will definitely feel different and will learn a lot and will be more aware. Um, Ma'am, IFMS's SCORA works relentlessly on such sensitive issues and we believe we can create an impact. Ma'am, do you have any words for us for IFMS's SCORA?
Um, I'm very happy and I'm really honored to speak in this webinar. And thank you technically for supporting me because last time it was difficult for me to uh, do the technical stuff in Google Hangouts. And luckily, this time, all I could do was click a link and I'm online. Thank you for that. And I really appreciate uh, um, SCORA and also the International Medical Federation Students Organization. Both the organizations I really appreciate, and I'm very thankful to you for listening to me, um, all of you listeners. Thank you for listening to uh, my story, our story, the LGBT community's story, our issues, and I hope I will gain your support now, then, and also in the future. Thank you so much for this opportunity, and I hope to meet you at another seminar. And one just question I have. Um, how many people have been, you have any idea how many people have been watching this seminar or online watching this?
We
Ma'am,
will
I
have a
think
view
Vivian
count.
can.
Sorry.
Yes, Fahim?
We will have a
Sorry.
view count after the webinar. We can see how many people, how many views there have been with the YouTube video that is going to be posted after the webinar. It will show
Oh,
how many
okay.
people have been here and have watched it afterwards. So
Yeah, wonderful.
we will do our best to promote because I think it would be very, very useful and inspiring for our fellow medical students to hear this presentation, to watch this webinar. And thank you again, Ms. Kalki. It was very inspiring and motivating. And thank you everyone for joining us. Please do stay tuned for more webinars that are to come. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Ma'am, to add with Vivian, I want to tell you that all those webinars we had, all those are saved in IFMSA channel, and every time and anyone can access all those videos and they can get all the information. So obviously, and beside that, we are going to promote these videos. Like, these are very important for us. We have to inform everyone around us about these issues. So we are going to be sharing these videos too. And moreover, there are some upcoming uh, webinar that will be a global one, and our campaign will continue till the 17th May, and so we can reach a lot of people. And ma'am, finally, I want to say again, we hope to see you more in our events. You are truly an asset, ma'am. With this, I want to conclude today's webinar. Thank you, ma'am, and thank you all for joining us. And thank you for joining the IDAHOT campaign. Goodbye, everyone.
Thank you
Goodbye,
so
ma'am.
much.